Well, hello there. Happy Friday, guys. Today we are going to be talking about Hedera Hashgraph HBAR, our largest position in the cryptocurrency space. And it's doing very well for us thus far. And we're here to tell you that there's more ahead of us. So what I want to do to kick the video off is look at some price action, to reiterate some of the things that we've said from a macro perspective, looking at a weekly time frame, going down to the current pattern that Hedera Hashgraph has now broken out of and likely going to see continuation to the upside on the back end of. Remember, that aligns with our big view on how we like to analyze the markets through phase analysis. We'll also compare Hedera to a number of other assets out there in the cryptocurrency space, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, and of course talk about HBAR dominance, which we said was going to break to the upside. That's happened, and there's a continuation to come for that. That very much aligns with price on the smaller time frames and the larger time frames. And then we're going to do some sort of speculating and looking at some interesting news that's broke this week and related to Hedera Hashgraph. One thing was Larry Fink saying, as a huge believer in crypto and blockchain, I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks. Now, what is one blockchain that's already doing that and already has a BlackRock fund on it? Hedera Hashgraph. Obviously through Archax, we've interviewed the CEO. The reason I bring this up is because Hedera is actually probably the best positioned DLT to actually do tokenization of real world assets. And that's due to its efficiency as a blockchain or a distributed ledger. It's not a blockchain, it's a DAG. We're talking about the cost, the environmental cost, the actual costs that settlable in dollars that puts it in a prime position, the regulatory clarity and kind of inbuilt compliance that Hedera has. We're also talking about the fact that other people are already doing this. Okay, we've already got tokenized markets on Hedera, including bond markets, money market funds, and things like that. We also see the likes of the recent announcement, the Nairobi Stock Exchange or Securities Exchange already tokenizing their stock market, their securities market. So Hedera has the capability to do exactly what Larry Fink is hinting at. And then we're going to talk about, obviously, the digital asset stockpile. Now, the Bitcoin max is like, I'm melting, because unfortunately, they didn't just say Bitcoin for them. And Bitcoin maxis, we've always said, are a bit, it's nonsensical to me to just believe that there's one application for a distributed ledger. That's like being a Ford Ranger. Ford Rangers are great trucks. That's like being a Ford Ranger maxi and only applying an engine, being comparable to DLT, to a Ford Ranger, and that's the only car that we have. I admit that's probably a bad example because that car can do a lot or that truck could do a lot. But the world wouldn't be as far as it is today if we just stopped with the first kind of car, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about sort of the US crypto thing. Because I think Hedera is going to have a role in this, and I'm going to show you some reasons why. Obviously, Hedera is represented at Davos. They were at the ball. There's some interesting things coming out with Elon Musk's brother and the board of directors, or the head of the board of directors at the Hashgraph Association. So we've got a hell of a lot to get into, as always, guys. There always is a lot to cover when it comes to certainly our largest player and one of our favorite crypto projects, Hedera. Let's kick things off with some price action. Let me just recap on our big time frame view on how the markets move. And the reason markets move like this is because humans are behind them and there's psychology there. It's kind of like, think about a trend. They come and go. And that's why you end up with these wave-like patterns. Really, really simplifying it there. We can go into a lot more detail. But markets move in 4 phases. We looked at the fact that Hedera is now in a phase 2. That was very much confirmed on this recent break. We did say there was a possibility for a retest, but even if you got the retest, regardless of whether you got it or you didn't, doesn't look like we're going to, in my opinion. I think it's more likely that we just continue from here. You are now in phase 2, which is an uptrend, and there's higher prices ahead of us. Now, since then, we have looked at this smaller pattern, this wedge-like pattern, this pennant-like pattern. It's a pennant more so than anything, that ultimately I believe is going to lead to continuation in the bigger journey that we've just looked at. Remember, to go back very quickly, and this is also a double bottom. So not only do we look at the markets through phase analysis, we also compound our probabilities of being right using technical analysis, traditional pattern technical analysis. I think this is a double bottom that ultimately we have a $92 target for. It differs from exchange to exchange. We're using Binance and the Tether chart here. It's a little bit higher on other exchanges against other currencies. But we ultimately have the fact that you're in phase 2, and this is textbook, a double bottom, and then we've got to expect continuation on the shorter time frames based on this bull pennant that we've actually now broken out of. So since this big 700% move, Hedera has just been consolidating. You often consolidate in a trend, and it's even better when you set up a continuation pattern, giving us further confidence that Hedera is first going to go to the sort of 49 cents range, or certainly the 40s, then 49, then 78, And this will differ from exchange to exchange, and then sort of 92 cents. Just to show you an example of another chart that we were watching for a similar thing and it played out, let's use XRP. XRP again, another big holding of mine. And let's use the 8-hourly chart because this did what Hedera is doing and it ultimately went higher. And I think you've got a similar thing very much ahead of you for HBAR, ladies and gents. So I'll just quickly draw this just to show you an example. You can see this kind of wedge-like pattern again. This pennant is really what it is more so than anything. You can see you actually break out, you pull back, and then you sort of rocket off it. And that's what Hedera's got, certainly to the sort of 49 cents range. I'm actually, I won't go into that, talking about buying crypto with companies, etc. But it is an interesting topic. So this is what you've got ahead for you. Certainly we can paint a very bullish technical picture when it comes to the dollar, or Tether in this case. If we take a look at HBAR dominance, we have the exact same pattern show up. So if we type in HBAR-D, you can see this is what we were looking at. And again, what do we have? This is HBAR's position in relation to the overall cryptocurrency space. How much of the market cap does it hold? Currently sits at 0.36%, so a third of a percent. I think it's going to the sort of 1 range. And again, a breakout, a retest, continuation. Remember, we looked at this pre-break. It's very common that once you take a key level of significance or a resistance, in this case, capping resistance trend line, you'll often retest it, just like when you break out of an inverse head and shoulders, et cetera, et cetera. So this is also a very bullish chart. And when we look at HBAR BTC, what do we see? Similar DNA. Remember, we think HBAR is going to make a significant move against BTC. We're on the cusp of it, ladies and gentlemen. Hedera is going to be one of the best performing assets in this market. And we'll talk about fundamentally some of the things that might encourage that. And then, of course, we've spoken, and we'll go to a daily because it's the only thing that will let us view this on. We've spoken about HBAR Ethereum, and we'll use both Coinbase charts here. And when it walketh, talketh, and quacketh like a duck, it's a duck, ladies and gentlemen. Hedera is going to do very well. I know there's a lot of people getting impatient. Hedera is already holding ground against Ethereum. But to really summarize that, or beforehand, let me just say, I know a lot of people are getting impatient. Don't be. Investing isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that takes time. I've been positioning for some of the price appreciation that we've seen since 2023, when the market's officially bottomed. We know that from Bitcoin. And ultimately, that's when myself and I have a group of people all decided to get back into the markets. And we've done very well since then. We're really seeing reward from it. And this big, broad bull, this phase 2, is ahead of us for Hedera. We can get that on the big time frames, looking at it through the lens of phase analysis. Also, we have a technical pattern giving us further confluence, taking us into phase 2. Then on the smaller time frames, we've got a continuation pattern that we've broken out of. Hedera looks great against BTC. It looks great in terms of dominance, and it looks great in terms of ETH. I.e., we've got a great time ahead of us as HBAR holders. So now that we've got price out of the way, let's talk about some things that are going on right now. And the first place that I want to start, this is going to be a bit of a jam-packed one, guys, because there's just so much to cover, is with what Larry Fink had to say just the other day. And we're going to relate that to Hedera Hashgraph and its unique positioning.
I'm a huge believer of crypto and blockchain and tokenization. I mean, I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks. That will simplify things, make things easier. Some of the tax on BlackRock would never have to vote on a proxy vote anymore because every owner of record would be notified through a tokenization of equities. And it would save more money for more people. It would bring down the cost of ownership of stock and bonds. So those are the type of financial reforms we need.
Right. We do need them indeed. And actually, the reason I bring that clip up, who'd have thought Larry Fink would ever be saying what he's saying to start things off? But the reason that we bring that clip up is because actually Hedera is in that unique position to do so. It's not going to be Ethereum, I don't believe, although that's the one that is kind of leading the charge due to its kind of status, I guess, more than anything, not due to its capabilities. But actually, when you look at Hedera Hashgraph, not only have they already started to tokenize the bond market, we also had the last governing council member, the Nairobi Securities Exchange. They're tokenizing their entire exchange on Hedera. More will follow, and actually, technically, Hedera is the most capable DLT to essentially enable what Larry Fink is talking about from a cost point of view, both financially and economically. From a scalability point of view and a kind of reliability point of view, it's very much fit for purpose to do all that. One of the few that can. And from a number of other kind of aspects, finality points of view, regulatory point of view, it just stands out really as a key component of what Larry Fink is looking to enable. Now, there's another clip that came out yesterday, and this is what David Sachs had to say on the back end of all the announcements, one of which was a digital asset strategic reserve. So let's play this, and then we're going to talk about Hedera and America.
The last 4 years, the Biden administration has basically prosecuted and persecuted crypto companies, really driving them offshore. I've heard so many outrageous stories by founders, by entrepreneurs. The Biden administration would not tell them what the rules of the road were, and they would then get prosecuted. And what the industry wants more than anything else is regulatory clarity. They're saying, just tell us what the rules are, we will abide by them. And the Biden administration would never do that. And because of that, all the innovation was basically moving offshore, and America was about to lose this technology of the future. And we want that innovation happening here in the United States, and I think it now will happen in the United States because President Trump has declared that the U.S. must be the crypto capital of the world.
So it creates this working group that you will chair. What will you be looking for, and what type of guidelines are you looking to put out?
Yeah, so a few areas. So number one, market structure. We need to define what is a security, what's a commodity, what's a digital asset or collectible. So there's a few different categories here. So defining the market structure is important. Second area is stable coins. I think stable coins are a really interesting area. It gives us the opportunity to extend the dollar's dominance internationally. We can basically create a digital dollar that people all over the world will use. And then the third area that we're going to look at is we're evaluating this national stockpile for digital assets. We haven't created it yet, but we're going to study that issue.
The last bit there is really probably what I'm very interested in. I'm interested in the whole of it, certainly as far as regulations are concerned. But they highlight, or David Sachs highlights something that Hedera themselves tweeted here saying, "Hello future." And that is that US President Donald Trump has just signed an executive order creating a crypto working group and directing work to begin on a digital asset stockpile, amongst other tasks. Now, we saw recently the Trump administration commit $500 billion into AI. Now, Microsoft, I know this because I'm very interested in the AI space, is probably going to do a similar amount. They said $400 billion in 5 years. So that gives you a scope of just how much money is going to come from government. That might increase as well, and certainly indirectly likely will be the case. But there's massive investment, trillions and trillions of dollars of investment going into AI. Crypto, I think, is probably going to see something very soon. And Hedera, I think, is very, again, this tweet by the Hedera Foundation or the Hedera official Twitter. Hedera is unbelievably well positioned to do exceptionally well. They're at Davos at the moment. This was their kind of booth. Rather interesting. There's also, we looked at the crypto ball, and this is obviously Mance, but Greg was there, et cetera, et cetera. We got the Hedera ETF coming. And of course, even the likes of Elon Musk's brother sat down with the an individual from the Hashgraph Association to really talk about all of this. So you can imagine, certainly Hedera's positioned itself as one of the US cryptos. Will the US government invest in it or not and do this? I don't know, 100%, but I think there's a lot of clues and links there. And even without all of this, when you look at Hedera Hashgraph from a price point of view, which you did at the start of the video, it's a pretty picture. That's it from me, guys. Have a fantastic Friday, and I'll see you all in the next one.